Well, good evening, all of you folks out there. Welcome to the Beaumont Evening Show, and we're going to get right to the news. A federal judge has ordered Abrego Garcia, the wife-beating gangbanger, released from prison because he's such a good guy. Even though he has been indicted on human trafficking, and we have video proof that he was doing that because they did shoot video of him when he was stopped by the highway patrol with a carload of people that didn't know each other or him. Kilmore has appeared for an appointment at an Immigration and Customs field office some 14 hours after his release. The lawyers had asked the judge to block authorities from detaining him again, and he walked out of the building surrounded by cheering supporters who never met a criminal they didn't love. Now the officials cannot re-detain him until the court conducts a hearing on the motion for the temporary restraining order. U.S. District Judge Paula Exenis of Maryland said she wrote that Abrego Garcia is likely to succeed on the merits of any further request for relief from being detained as an illegal alien. She said for the public to have any faith in this orderly administration of justice, they crafted a remedy that cannot be so quickly and easily upended without further briefing and consideration. Abrego Garcia has, of course, been a problem because he is a wife-beating gangbanger. He absolutely has been involved in human trafficking, and he's just generally not a good guy. Don't forget his wife called police not once, but twice when he was beating her. But he says, now I stand before you a free man, and I want you to remember this way, with my head held up high. I come here today with so much hope that I'll be able to get back to my gangbanging, human trafficking ways and beat my wife the way she deserves to be beaten. And you people need to keep fighting too. Beat your wives. Anyway, I stand here today with my head held high, and I will continue to fight and stand firm against all the injustices that Donald Trump has done against me. I believe this is a country of laws, and I'm here to break them. After Abrego Garcia spoke, he went through security at the field office, escorted by his supporters. When Abrego Garcia's attorney, Simon Sandoval Mosenberg, announced to the crowd outside assembled that his client would walk out that field office's door again, he stressed that the legal fight is not over. Yesterday's order from Judge Zinnes is now the temporary restraining order this morning, representing a victory of law over power. So they freed him at 5 p.m. on Thursday in response to a ruling from Zinnes, who wrote federal authorities detained him after his return to the United States with no legal basis. I mean, just because he's a wife-beating gangbanger, MS-13, yeah. Well, Abrego Garcia, of course, is a Salvadoran citizen, but he's been running a crime network here in the United States since 2019. He was ordered deported, but he was never deported and he never left. So he was allowed to live and work in the U.S. under ICE supervision, but he was not given residency status. Earlier this year, he was deported and held in the Salvadoran prison. The 2019 settlement found that he had a well-founded fear of danger in El Salvador because his MS-13 bosses down there said, we put you in America to run our organization up there, and if you come back here, we're going to kill you. Well, anyway, this Judge Zinnes, that's spelled X-I-N-I-S, wrote that federal authorities did not just stonewall the court. They affirmatively misled the tribunal. So Judge Exenis rejected the government's argument that she lacked jurisdiction to intervene on the final removal of Abrego Garcia because she found that no final order had been filed. And she said, just because you're the president of the United States doesn't mean you have authority over anything. I'm a judge. Anyway, ICE freed Abrego Garcia from the Moshannon Valley Processing Center about 115 miles northeast of Pittsburgh just before the deadline that was given by the judge. He returned home to Maryland a few hours later, beat his wife, and then he went out and got something to eat. The Department of Homeland Security sharply criticized her order and vowed to appeal, calling the ruling naked judicial activism, which it is because she was an Obama-appointed judge. And it's sad, but the legal system here in the United States is so hopelessly corrupt, so filled full of criminals. I don't know how we're ever going to get any justice. And Donald Trump, God bless him, the greatest president in the history of the United States, he truly has no equal. He has done more in the last 9 months than any other president has done in 2 full terms, even FDR in 3 full terms. Well, 2.5 terms. Sandoval Moshenberg, the lawyer, said the judge made it clear that the government just can't detain someone because they're breaking the law. Abrego Garcia has applied for asylum in the U.S. in the immigration court. He was hit with the human smuggling and conspiracy to commit human smuggling charges when the U.S. government viewed the video of him smuggling people that he didn't know in from El Salvador. Prosecutors alleged that he accepted money to transport people within the United States, and indeed that appears to have been his only job. These charges stem from a 2022 traffic stop in Tennessee where he was stopped for speeding. Body camera footage shows police officers had a calm exchange with Abrego Garcia, and there were 9 people in the car that did not know each other or him. And the officers discussed them among themselves their suspicions that he was smuggling in humans. But of course, that was during the Biden auto pen administration, and they were not allowed to arrest him just because it looked like he was smuggling human beings, because the Biden auto pen administration never met a criminal they didn't like, and they wanted as many criminals here in the United States to vote as possible. Merry Christmas.
An Irishman goes into a bar in America and he orders 3 shots of whiskey. And the barman says to him, "Do you want me to put them in one glass for you to make it easier?" He says, No, I have this tradition. I have a shot for myself and 2 shots for my brothers at home. The next night, he comes back to the bar and he orders 2 shots. And the barman says, "Jesus, I'm really sorry. Did something happen to one of your brothers?" He says, No. I just decided to give up the drink.
Meanwhile, in the good news segment, a suspected drug dealer was shot and killed along the Rio Grande in Starr County on Thursday. U.S. Border Patrol agents shot the suspected drug dealer around 5:30 p.m. The agent is okay. Starr County Sheriff's Office said it is currently assisting U.S. Border Patrol with the officer-involved shooting that occurred in Midway near the riverbank. Starr County deputies are securing the scene while Texas Rangers lead the investigation. Starr County Judge Eloy Vera indicated that the incident took place in Rio Grande City. Apparently there was a scuffle at the riverbank between Border Patrol and some suspects, and one of the suspects ended up getting shot, and he died later in the hospital. The site reported that the fight began after smugglers began moving drugs out of Mexico, and they were unloading them when they met Special Operations Detachment agents on the Texas side. During the fight, one agent fired his weapon, and we're down 1 drug dealer. I told you, it's good news. Meanwhile, in other news, you might remember Tina Peters up in Colorado. She is a Gold Star mom, and she said there's something hinky going on here. And she invited people in to analyze the election results that they found. Well, currently she's languishing in Colorado State Prison for that purpose. She's 69 years old. She's in very poor health. She's serving a 9-year sentence on state charges related to her efforts to expose the false voting system that they have in Colorado. Despite her age, medical condition, and status as a Gold Star mother, as you know, the left has no compassion whatsoever. They never met a criminal they didn't love, and they never met a law-abiding person they didn't hate. Last week, a magistrate judge dismissed Tina Peters' habeas corpus petition seeking an early release from prison. Donald Trump didn't mince words. He gave her a full pardon, but the problem is the state says, we're not going to honor that because this is a state crime, not a federal crime. And what is the state crime? Once again, trying to expose voting irregularities. President Trump is not happy about it. Democrats have ignored violent and vicious crime of all shapes, sizes, and colors in Colorado. They loved it when the Tren de Aragua gang was taking over apartment complexes. They didn't have a problem with that, even though they were evicting honest citizens. Democrats only think there's one crime, and that crime for them is voting for a Republican or supporting Donald Trump or failing to believe in the big lie of the 2020 election. Democrats chose to prosecute anyone they can find that did not fall for the big lie. And that's why they went after all the J6ers and put them in jail immediately. even though they didn't commit any crimes, and even though many of them simply were at the Capitol on the day of January 6th. So Miss Tina is sitting in a Colorado prison for the crime of demanding honest elections. Following the pardons, far-left Attorney General Phil Weiser appeared on local media to rage against Donald Trump, and he just happens to be running for governor, and he's counting on the fake votes to win that election. Asked whether the pardon would free Peters, he said, "No, this is a lawless act. It's an act of intimidation. It has no basis in American law." Weiser insisted that Trump has no authority to interfere with Colorado's prosecution of honest Americans because they don't respect the rule of law. So there was a trial, there was a conviction by a jury, and there was an appeal by the state courts, and all that's happening apparently under the rule of law. And he went on to say Donald Trump doesn't respect the rule of law, and he doesn't have the authority to undermine how we operate here in Colorado. Kyle Clark, the interviewer, said, "Well, we've seen this on a number of issues where essentially the Trump administration will take action and dare a court to tell them that it is illegal. My question for you is, are we seeing a legal maneuver, or do you view it as something else?" And Phil Weiser said, "The president apparently thinks he can pressure and bully people to bend to his will. That's not going to work here in Colorado because we are good, God-fearing Marxists, and we honor the rule of the law as long as the law is tilted in our direction. A system in which no matter who you know or what you do, we are going to make sure that Democrats get elected." Well, ladies and gentlemen, pray for Tina Peters and pray that somehow justice will prevail. In other news, there's a new film that's coming out. It's called Plague of Corruption. It's a documentary, and it's narrated by Liam Neeson. And it's focusing on the controversial claims made by Dr. Judy Mikovits regarding the corruption of the scientific community and vaccine safety. The documentary delves into Mikovits' claims about the manipulation of scientific research and the potential dangers of vaccines, particularly in relation to chronic diseases. Mikovits, a former researcher, has been a polarizing figure because she decided to tell the truth about the COVID-19 pandemic. So I'd encourage you to go out there and find that film, Plague of Corruption. Watch it, like it, share it. See you guys tomorrow on the Saturday show.